Hey, have you ever heard of this proverbial term that, hey, live according to your means. Live according to the much that you make at the end of the month or day or whichever the time that you get paid. And they tell you, hey, if you're earning 60,000 at the end of the month, why don't you live a life that is worth 60,000? If you're making 100K, live according to that amount of money. If you're earning 10, live by your means or according to your means. Do you believe, or would you believe if I tell you that's a scam? And that is a thing that actually has made people to get into that what we call the rat race. All right, the rat race means that you survive from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. Like literally, if you're not working at the end of the month, if you don't get paid, your bills are not paid, meaning that your normal day activities are gonna be halted. Let me tell you one secret. This video I'm talking about live below your means and not by your means. Let's say you are earning 10,000 at the end of the month, all right? Then you're supposed to live below 10,000 at the end of the month. Now, guess what you've just done? You've created a surplus, all right? You're just making sort of a virtual thing that you're being paid excess. And that excess that you've created on top of there, that's what we call the surplus. Now, that surplus is what you channel towards investment. And that investment is what now gives you another thing that is called the passive income, aka the baby money. All right. Now, that surplus, it is never given. Let me tell you one secret. Today you're earning 30,000, tomorrow you get 40,000. The other time you get 60, the other time you get 100. By the time you realize you've actually climbed the job ladder and you're up there earning like 300K in something of sort. If you carry the weaknesses of the 10,000 to the 100,000, then at the end of the day, you're going to face the same challenges. And that's why if today I ask you a very simple question, what or how much was your first amount from the first job that you got? Probably it's way low and you were surviving. Well, I know you may argue from the point of, hey, I had no family, I had no responsibilities and what have you. Probably I was fresh out of schools and what have you. Yeah, those are the excuses. There's no problem with that. But the point is this. There are two ways on how you can have a surplus of income so that you can channel that amount of money towards investment. Let me tell you one secret. Number one, it's either you do what we call, you cut on your expenses. You cut on your expenses, like you reduce. You want 20,000 at the end of the month, then you make sure that at least you're living, let's say, 15,000 at the end of the month. Now, you budget within the 15,000. You ask yourself, and by the way, if you let this reality hit in you, you realize one thing. It was not the right time for you to marry. It was not the right time for you to have kids, or not the right time to migrate to that home. It was not the right time. It is true. Most of the things that people do nowadays is that they were not yet ripe for them to do exactly that. Don't worry. You find somebody who is earning 20,000 and they have, like 4 kids. There's some kids they have to take to school and all those kind of things. I know you may argue from the point of, hey, marriage or maybe having kids and what have you, it's not about finance. Hey, you can do so. I know you may argue from that point, but at the end of the day, it's also true to make sure that at least you also incorporate the aspect of finance and understanding about it before you actually add more and more responsibilities on top of you. That's a reality. So what do I mean by living below your means? Let's get started, all right? Now, it means that you have to cut on your expenses to utilize less of your money. And that what has been remain on top there, you can channel it towards investment. And now on this particular point, I'm focusing on you cutting down on your expenses. I've been talking about you having other side hustles to actually supplement that what you've been getting as your sort of what, this sort of at the end of the month salary, or at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, whichever the time you get paid. Now, the point is this. You cut down those expenses, because if you live by what people say, hey, you earn 30,000, you earn 100K, live according to that amount of money, guess what you're gonna do? That salary that you're getting at the end of the month, you're going to channel it towards getting what you call the nice to have. Remember last time I made a very good video and I told you, hey, we have 3 baskets. We have the good, the nice, and we have the mass, the good, and the nice. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to put some of your money that you earn at the end of the month, which is the parent money, all right, towards that what we call, the nice to have. These are the things that you don't really need them. They are good if you have them, and they're only achieved once you invest the parent money to get the baby kids, or rather the baby money. And the baby money, commonly known as the passive income, that's now what you channel towards acquiring all those kind of things. Now, the problem that people make is this: hey, you earn this amount of money, you never set aside anything in terms of your investments, and then at the end of the time, you keep on complaining. For example, right now, let's be sincere. Yesterday, the fuel was increased in terms of, price and what have you. Then it means it's going to have a ripple effect in most of our things, because we use the fuel in transport of almost everything. Just tell me what's not transported using fuel, be it either from the food, from the goods, from commodities and what have you. Then it means it's gonna have a ripple effect. Then cost of transport gonna increase. Then it means the price of the good gonna increase. Then at the end of the day, then it means that the inflation right now, as you're speaking of 6.3, then we're gonna get yourself probably at 7 or something of sort. Then it means that we're gonna be buying things at a higher price. Right now, as we speak, the dollar has actually crashed the shillings. We are talking of the ups of close to 150 Kenyan shillings. Then what does it mean? It means that the ability of buying that commodity from outside the country where you need to do so with a dollar, then it means that that commodity is going to be expensive. Then when it comes to manufacturing, then at the end of the day, that product is going to come out of the other side of the channel at a very pricey price, okay? Then it means that be prepared for some sort of a dicey movement, some sort of, a bumpy ride and something of sort. And the only way you can do so is to try at least as much as you can to increase the channels of income. Because if you rely on one channel of income, remember one thing, and this is where we usually get ourselves into a wrong end. The basket of income has remained constant. The price of unga has actually increased in price. For example, right now as we speak, the cooking fuel or the cooking oil has actually doubled the price compared to like 2 or 3 years ago. Probably you have not gotten any salary increment, and you have to survive the same economy. And that pricey amount of income that you're getting at the end of the month has not changed. The price of commodities has increased. Now you telling me, if you're gonna catch up with that and you're gonna have to make sure that everybody eats and all things have to run the same, then you're gonna realize that a lot of people do not have what we call the money in their savings account. A lot of people are actually cutting on the expenditures on some things that are not necessary. Nowadays, as we speak, a lot of people are channeling their money towards the housing, the shelter, that is the shelter and the food and the clothing. The things to do with the buying properties and what have you, the bigger percentage of the people at the middle are not doing exactly that. Those people who are doing exactly, and then that means the demand has gone down. And when the demand has gone down, it means the prices tend to go low. And once the prices tend to go low, the people at the top who actually have the capacity, then they purchase more of this. And once they purchase more of this, they increase their wealth and what have you. And that's why we say there is something called the bulging gap between the rich and the poor. That's gonna be there. So the point is this. Now, can we be able to escape from one end and jump to the other end and actually not regard ourselves as poor and also jump to the other end? And let me tell you one thing. Between where you are and where you want to be, in between is what we call the plan. And the plan of doing exactly that, first of all, it tells you having a sacrifice inside of your life, meaning that you have to do exactly one of the sacrifices that you have to do is exactly this. You find somebody, you're flexing with a 3-bedroom house, and you really don't need that piece of a house, honestly speaking. You really don't need to. You really don't need to have it. There is a way you can actually maneuver around that. You can sacrifice for the next 2, 3, 4 years. And then after that, you invest your money, you've increased your income, you can even think of building your own home. But what does not augur well with people is that they never feel comfortable when you tell them they have to cut on the expenses. You know what? Because that one actually disturbs their comfort. And the comfort that they have right now, it's like there's where they usually drink, there is how they live, there is how they relate with their friends and neighbors and what have you. Without not telling them to actually vacate from that specific area, it's gonna be perceived from their friends as if they're becoming poor, they're becoming broke and what have you. And one thing, we human beings, we are very, 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 very social, and that thing sometimes, or in most of the times, tends to affect our finance. Sometimes I say I don't have to explain anything to anybody. You have to do your own things, you have to do your own mathematics, and by the time people realize, you're actually doing amazing in all those life aspects as far as the finance is concerned. Now, the point number 2, you realize that if you live by your means, you leave nothing for savings. That's very true. You see, if you live by 100,000 and that's what you earn at the end of the month, you leave 0 for your savings. Then what does it mean? You're gonna rely more of your job, and that's why most of the time you think of, hey, how can I get a salary increment and how can I do exactly this? Maybe you're working in a company, maybe let's say you are working in an IT company, you're making these guys a very good amount of money. You are not even thinking about how you can actually go ahead and come up with your own company, or maybe offer services online or something of sort. you're programmed to be more of an employee rather than you actually coming up with your own solutions and actually solving your own problems and do something about it. So the point is this: if you live by all your own means, you're gonna get yourself into lots of problems, and that means that you're gonna get in a situation whereby you have nothing to invest. And and I understand this is the reason as to why you find some people on the comment section, they usually talk so rude and they tell me, hey Joseph, what can I save in this economy? Hey, what can I well, you see, let me tell you one secret. If you try the much you can or the best that you can to find a reason not to do something, you always find the reason. All right. And if you wake up in the morning and try to find the reason as to why you should do something, at the end of the day, you're going to find the solution, or if you're going to find the reason. So the point should be, make sure that at least you do something as far as the investments are concerned. Make sure that you do something, that can actually facilitate you and know one thing. Hey, you know what? In 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, in close to 10 years' time, I'm going to be somewhere. And this argument of, hey, life is short, life is for the living, it is true, all those factors are correct. But let me tell you one thing: if you're going to live for the next 5 years and you're going to live in abject poverty, it's going to be like the longest time that you have ever lived. That's the reality. Okay, and if you don't want to regret in your life, you have to do something for the sake of that, and you have to actually incorporate all these things that I've actually told you. Now, if I can just recap exactly what I've just said: live below your means and not by your means, meaning you have to cut down on your expenditure. And I said that is one way of creating surplus. Another way of creating surplus is by actually increasing your income. Whatever you do, find a thing that you can be able to do at the side hustle. And what are the examples of the side hustle? You can check my previous videos. I've talked about several side hustles that you can actually do out there. So number one is that you can cut your means, or rather you can cut on your expenses. Number two, you can actually increase the income by actually engaging yourself in other side hustles, so maybe having multiple jobs or something of sort. And I say the reason as to why we are doing this is to actually take that surplus, channel it towards savings. And nowadays, it's not a must that you save. Nowadays, you can save and invest at the same time. If you get yourself into mutual funds, you're actually saving, and at the same time, you've invested that money because it is attracting, what we call an interest on top of that. Now, once you accumulate that money to a certain particular period of time, now you can either decide to withdraw that money from the investment, you channel it towards a more riskier businesses if you have that risk tolerance inside of you, and start a business. And that's how you actually hasten that period of actually accumulating more money. But if you don't want to hasten things and what have you, you can actually keep on channeling that money, create or build a bigger portfolio on the mutual fund, and actually get yourself quite a chunk of money in a certain long period of time. All right, because hey, remember this: wealth is never an event, it's always a process. It requires dedication, discipline, and sacrifice, and more important, it requires consistency. That's what brings a difference, and at the end of the day, you're going to make something. Guess what? That's the end of my video. Don't forget this: I got my number on the description of this specific video. How about you grab that number, give me a call? Why? Because I offer services pertaining to, financial management skills, consultations, and take through, all right, for just a cup of coffee. Or option two, you can grab my booklets about financial management skills. I got a copy for only 280 shillings. And guess what? That's not only that. I have other booklets about investments, business plans, shares, money market fund, treasury bills, bonds, all those kind of things. A copy only goes for 280. For now, it's a goodbye. See ya.